Welcome back to State of Scrims. It is an episode in a season of State of Scrims. I cannot be bothered. I'm sorry. How are you doing, Mason? How's it going?
Three. Episode 3, I believe.
I thought it
Yeah, it
was
should be
4.
episode 3.
I'm pretty sure it's 4.
You're lying. Go look it up. It's 3, trust. That was really
Okay.
good.
It is an episode of a season. That cannot be contested. Yeah, Mason, how was the nice 15 hours of sleep you got during the game?
It was pretty good. I didn't really miss much.
It's episode 4.
I am, okay, it is episode 4. Just sue me, man. I heard the games were pretty close, kind of close. I don't fucking know.
The first game was unfortunately not
Respects to
close. Second one, I think, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, yeah. Was the series of all time for sure.
True.
But yeah, games overall this week were pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, banger series yesterday for sure. That one was, ooh,
Yeah.
it was really fun to watch. I imagine it probably, from your perspective, slightly less fun to play, but
No, it was still a fun series to play. I think I performed pretty decently. Game 2 was like an anomaly. I think Invade Level 1 kind of fucked us, but that's like a different conversation. Game 3 was like a lot of fun, so it's good.
yeah.
Good series overall.
I mean, I think unfortunately, like, I'm gonna miss my Pooza dopamine hit next week because that guy is so fun to watch play. Like the progression that you
Yeah.
can see from him, like getting better week by week, is honestly really fun. And a bit scary if I'm being completely honest, but they did end up losing to Spectres because no one has beaten Spectres yet.
Yeah,
I
Spectres
believe did take the no. Who took them to
take a
3
game off.
games? Yeah, they did take them to
No,
3
they
games.
took-
I was confused
they took
because of
them to
the signups at the same time, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
MVP
I think this.
looking
I
good.
think the series in the first day was really good. Or the first series that we watched, the Spectres versus MVP.
Oh.
There's like a lot of back and forth in that one.
Yeah.
Let me pull up the games real quick because I'm trying to remember what exactly.
Yeah, here, wait. I can just tab over. Here, I'll just change the title. Yeah, no, I mean, I thought the series was really good. First game, Brewer finally gets Syndra. A lot of people have been betting it against him, but you give Caesarius and Nautilus as well, and they just do super well. But Sarver's popping up a 12 bomb is like actually crazy. He had as much kills as the rest of his team combined, and more kills, actually double the kills of the entire enemy team.
Yeah, definitely Sarver's has been playing super well for his team. He did do the jungle flex, which worked really well for them. I think his ADC play has also been really on point. It's just been a really good season for my boy over there. The tornado gap was real, guys. I hate to break it to you. This team is definitely looking a lot scarier than they were last season, especially because they just got like a lot of good players to come in for the ones that they lost as well. Like Brewer is showing up and being just as dominant as some of the players that they had last season were. So good pickups from them, and overall just really, really solid stuff. I think the second game where they lost, that I think they just sort of let Heroic snowball on them, which is sort of just what happens when MVP win games. It's just like everyone else is just okay, and then Heroic pulls out a 1v9 out of his ass and then wins the game. That's just sort of been the trend with MVP, so I wonder if they can continue utilizing this strength. TM, we'll see how it goes for the rest of the season, but
yeah, I mean, obviously the Spectres wins in that series were super, super dominant. Like, probably 2 of the least close games we've had all season. The first one, you just go, that's a complete slam, and then the second one is somehow even less close. Avery going 902, Brewer going 802. Absolutely just disgusting. Those solo lane performances were absolutely crazy. I do think it's interesting that I believe Urgot was banned away the first 2 games, and then Spectres finally goes on the red side. They have counterpick into the Urgot, and oh boy,
they just slam a Gnar.
That Gnar looked so good.
Arius backing him up. That was a really clean series from them. I think it was a really good adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, I had the controversial take that Brewer gets MVP that game, but I don't know. I think both of them played really well. It's kind of hard, but
it's close. Avery definitely putting up some numbers. Caesarius also is doing super well using the Lilia pick. This is a really good champion right now, in my opinion. I think I do want to talk a little bit about how you built Lilia, because I think that was a really smart adaptation. When you need to play like more frontline styles for Lilia, I think the Rod of Ages is actually really good. I've been advocating for Rylai's for quite a bit, but I think Roa is also like a good substitute if you want like AP but like more HP, and like it gives you a lot of effective HP as well when you're in fights because of the healing that you get for spamming spells. So I just really like the itemization. I actually used it in our first game as well versus MVP as well, so I think it's just a really solid adaptation that more people who are looking to play Lilia should get into, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give my last couple thoughts on this Spectres series, and then we can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
It really felt like Spectres was just kind of trying to do something for funning in the second game. The Ivern Hecarim comp was a little bit of a cool flex, and I did like that Mythic is trying out a completely different style. Obviously, he's been playing a lot of these like engaged tanks, but like the Nautilus, Leona, pretty standard for him, but the Karma I think was a bit outside of his wheelhouse. But I think that was pretty interesting to see. Liz's Milio does deserve a shout out, even though it did end up losing in that last game. Wow, that champion, she makes it look really good. Super impressive. And obviously, Silico Shaco has just been a bit of a terror recently. Obviously, I guess we saw it in a couple games, so I'm kind of skipping ahead, but yeah, I don't know. Silico in the jungle is definitely a different look. It forces them to completely change their playstyle, though. They look a lot better when they're running assassins on Heroic, which is not something that they've really been doing up until this point. I guess they did just go for the scaling mages into meta busters, but I thought the Akali looked really good, just for my take on this series. But we can go to your series if you want to give some thoughts.
I think we kind of played it well-ish for the most part. It was a lot closer than... Or it was a lot... We just weren't able to close out in Game 3, which is kind of unfortunate, but definitely MVP showing up a little bit. I think in Game 1 we had the... I think we flexed Noah mid into Heroic and just had Kim play top lane, which was, I think, the correct move for that series, but we tried it again in Game 2 and got punished. I also just played a really shitty Zac game. Heroic on the Swain was kind of gross as well, literally unkillable because we had 3 tanks and no damage, aside from the Akali. That was just a bit of a draft oopsie, but that's a thing. And they also chose to run, what was it? Jackson instead of Valor Game 1?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of like a player comp kerfuffle. Just to clarify, I think everything is already integrated into the team builder. If bar green, you're good. If red bar, bad. All the little allowances and stuff are already calculated in there. You don't have to do that on your own. Pretty cut and dry. But some stuff I wanted to point out. Obviously, I'm a bit of a top lane enjoyer. Even though I don't get to play it, I do like to keep my eyes on it. Dr. Mundo is a bad champion, guys. And you know what other champion is bad? Quinn.
A little bit.
It's kind of unfortunate. I don't know. Like, I like to see Puza expanding his champion pool. I would like to see if he's trying out new champions, something that's kind of like better in team play. Obviously, if you just really like Dr. Mundo, there's nothing wrong with playing him. I just think it's a bit rough. He loses to a lot. I'm not sure if that was a blind pick or not because I was not able to watch the stream at that point, but it's really easy to get punished. If you're just locking it in because it's good into Scion and then you don't expect the role swap, that's completely understandable, I think. Dr. Mundo just doesn't offer much in like a team fight or anything unless he's already giga-fed. And if you're not weak side god Avery or something, Joel I'll shout out as well. I feel like he does well on the weak side, but I just find it really tough to justify a Dr. Mundo pick. Even for either of those two players, I just don't think he does that much. Maybe if you're flexing between top jungle, there could be an angle, but I'm not a huge fan of it. However, Puza's macro on Yorick is splendid. Oh my goodness. This guy, you cannot give him enough love for knowing how to play the map. Especially when we're trying out these weird comps. We have like Shaco Pike double assassin, and then kind of like a weird team fighting spread when you have like Swain and Zeri, and then also like Valor on the AD Varus in the second game, kind of aggressive early, but then falls off a bit, and then you have Silico and Heroic as late game insurance. But both of these games, Booz is just split pushing, and it's really hard to deal with. That play in the third game where Puza just dunks on Cam blew the casters' minds, blew my mind. I was having a great time watching that. I think they were saying on the cast Puza just didn't know his own damage. I am not entirely sure if that's true, but obviously it's possible. But I think that would be quite funny. But yeah, I am not entirely sure if that's sorry.
I play a little bit. I think I fucking gapped the shit out of Silico until like later on in the game when. Wait, hello?
Yeah, sorry. No, we're good. I just flashbanged everyone with the stream. That's my bad.
Okay. Well, basically,
I'm not fixing that in
TLDR. I will defend my play a little bit in game 3. I thought I played pretty well. It's just got outscaled by the ASOL a little bit.
Yeah.
Push our leads enough, but it is what it is. Maokai gamer, what can I say? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone in that game played super well. Obviously, Psycho Carrot did end up getting the MVP, and I think that's super deserved. He played. Yeah. I mean, I think their team fighting was just super well done, and obviously those Renata plays were a huge part of it. Kiana, Quinn, Kaisa all turning on each other and auto trading is kind of ridiculous. But I don't know. That team fighting comp is just really hard to deal with, and if you have the Quinn and Kiana, I think it's just hard to be able to deal with really good team fights. And I think Tarek is a really good pick. It does really suffer into like poke comps or assassins. It's good for sustained damage, like blocking someone's engage when it's kind of like a slower wombo combo. It's not going to kill you right away, but you can't Tarek ult Kha'Zix one-shotting you. And if Valor is just going to poke you down over and over again on the Varus, I think it's really tough. That said, I think it's a really good adaptation by Valor to go for the lethality build instead of an on-hit build, which is usually what you do see with the Renata. You see the Renata, you expect it to just be on-hit, typical ADC build, but he swaps to lethality, knowing it's better into the Tarek, I believe. I mean, I could be wrong. I was pretty sure he went lethality.
I thought he had a Bork there. Let me check.
Oh, I don't know.
I could have sworn we had a Bork.
Maybe my memory is like failing.
Maybe.
Yeah, you pull it up instead of me, so I don't keep screwing the audio here. I'm being such a demon today. Oops. But yeah, we can head on to the series.
Yeah, he went on hit. He went Bork Kraken. Like,
okay, then whatever I said is wrong. They just got lucky. There was no build adaptation into Tarek. He just played what made sense with Renata. I mean, I also think that's fine because you're getting damage onto the Maokai and the Tarek. Because I believe Heroic went Roa, so you're not having the Leandries to burn him down.
I don't think he went.
Unless I'm lying again, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Dean Jones on
Can we get a build check? Can we get a build check?
What? I'm doing the build check right now. Let me find it.
I'll see if I can find it.
He did not go Roa, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my god.
Or he might have, actually.
Dude, I am not spitting. I'm not spitting.
He did go revitalize Roa. You're right. You're right.
Okay, build check. He did go. Okay.
Oh.
I don't know if I'm biased. I'm just a moron. I think the casters were saying he was going to build lethality, and then he didn't. But I wasn't really able to watch the game. Like I kind of like was getting peeks, but I wasn't looking super closely.
Yeah.
Oh well.
It was just it was a good series overall, I think.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites to watch so far. Also, I feel like MVP really got an upset there. I'm happy for them. I feel like they're doing well. We can go real quick onto the Rift Shark series. I guess you haven't.
I didn't watch this one.
Yeah, you haven't watched it.
But I heard it was a fun series, though.
Yeah, I feel like first game we just drafted like Giga scaling. Udyr can do stuff early and obviously like Ziggs is kind of weird because he does scale really well with his damage, but he's also strong early. Just depends on the way you play around him. But this comp, Tarek would have had a terrible time into, but obviously no Tarek in the game. But yeah, lots of poke. I think it's kind of hard for them to play. And what we did try to do was make sure that we drafted only one melee champion into the Lilia. It makes it really hard for her to get anything done. I think we did think it was Jonah at that time. Obviously, it matters less if you're only fighting one champion. And would like me to amend that we technically have like 1.5 melee champions because Kale's melee until 6. But
well,
that was
beans. That never fucking matters for sure.
It was mentioned in draft. I'll shout that out. And then second game was a draft nightmare for us. We picked Nautilus and TF. You want a really early game ADC. We picked Vayne. I just think we were a little scrambled. We planned really heavily around being able to get this Kale, and then when we didn't get Kale, We were assuming that kind of Udyr would also be off the table, so it really screwed up our plans, and I just don't think we adapted well. The Rift Sharks Game 2 draft curse is real, but only when I'm not playing. I felt our Game 2 draft was good in the MVP series. But yeah, I feel like we win a game and then our draft goes into the absolute gutter. That's my ego talking. I need to work on that. But anyway, I felt like Anne played really well in the counter matchups both games. Do want to shout her out.
I need people to realize how Lilio works, but whatever, man. I think Jonah was fucking. I think he got like 2 Baron steals that game. That was pretty cool from him. But I think overall, like, people have not been playing this Udyr Lilia matchup correctly, in my opinion. But it's like whatever. I'll harp on this till the day I die, or until someone lets me play the Lilia side of the Udyr matchup for whatever reason. So.
Yeah, I mean, what Michael did mention and what our internal comms were, and did point this out, is that it's a bug on my monitor. Is that Jonah just has a lot easier time securing kills, like Baron with the Lilia, because she has ways to combo it, and there just isn't enough burst damage on Udyr, which is something that we played around really poorly. We just forced a lot of 50-50s. I think sometimes we were able to just completely collapse on Jonah. That second time they stole the Baron, we like tried to get him, and I think we went like 1 for 2 in a negative way for us. But yeah, no, I feel like Jonah had a pretty good series. The first game is obviously pretty hard because you have like 5 pretty well scaling champions just left alone, and we had a gold lead all game. And then in that second game, I felt like our team fighting was just really on point. TF
coming back is kind of
right.
Hype also.
Oh yes, I was going to talk about that a bit later, but like you have Nautilus, Udyr, Renekton, Twisted Fate. That is 4 champions who can really capitalize on mispositioning. So any sort of positional errors they had just got immediately collapsed on. So a bit rough for them there, but I did want to point out that our draft in Game 2 completely sucked. So, oops, my bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we blinded Renekton knowing the Alawi was coming, and if you were watching that second to last team fight, oh boy, you can tell why it's terrible. Me and him were trying to 1v1 her. There's a cannon minion standing in between the Nautilus and the Alawi. I couldn't do anything. It was just kind of brutal. But I don't know. I feel like it was a good week.
Yeah, fun series to watch. MVP getting the upset was pretty cool. Spectres pulling out dominant performances again. I think I am less washed this week, but we'll see how we continue to improve, I guess. So,
I do want to go over Spectres being 3-0. I think that is probably the most. You know, that's the talking point here. Apparently, they accidentally ripped off the New York Nutbusters meme from last season. I thought it was intentional. I thought it was a bit. It's like, well, you're the group of friends that started off 9-0, but we're the group of friends that can close it out 10-0. I thought that was like the dig there, and then no, it's just a complete accident. I was like, wow, Mythic really did his research, figured this shit out. He's going crazy on it, but you know, bit of an oopsie there. But do you think Spectres is beatable?
Yeah. I think MVP really showed that the team still does have some weaknesses. I think most teams have like I think a lot of teams have a very defined playstyle so far. I think Rift Sharks has always been more about like scaling-ish comps and have kind of suffered when you try to put them on more early aggressive stuff. I think the same is kind of true with Meta Busters as well. I think MVP lives or dies by heroics performances every game, but even like you can't perfectly account for that. Like look at the Spectres dropped versus MVP, and then look at the games when I think Meta Busters was playing into MVP. Like heroic is just fucking dicking on, whipping and nay-naying on everyone. Like it's kind of hilarious, and I think that's I think playing towards those strengths has really allowed teams to like win versus Spectres. So I don't know. I think they are still beatable. I think we'll have to see how New York Busters does because I'm not entirely sure where they're locked in yet. But I think I've heard some rumors about some stuff they're cooking up, so I'm excited to watch their games later this week as well. But I think Spectres is definitely still beatable. Gruer definitely puts like a lot of pressure in draft. With a super dominant champion pool like Syndra and Echo, and he's been performing on both of those. Even like when he's not on those 2 champions, he's been playing really well. Caesarius, I think, has done a really good job of showing why Lilia is a strong champion. So I think this team is still beatable, but definitely very strong, and I'm really excited to watch them play more. So Cerberus also, uh, kind of great at 80 carry. Who could have figured when we put him on mid lane last season or whatever? And Mythic, trying to learn new champions in the Karma as well. I think they have a really good mental for improving. So, I sort of just rambled for like 2 minutes there, but yeah, I think they're still beatable. But definitely a lot to look out and try to account for with this team. So,
yeah, I mean, you look at Spectres and you probably have like 3 or 4 players that are like top 2 in their role. It's kind of disgusting. I feel like I have a strategy to ban out against them that I'm obviously not going to leak, but I think it is really hard to find something that works. MVP obviously and a couple of the games showed what you can do wrong. Like I would not give over the Echo game, a bit of a fluke because I feel like every other player was not on a Super Comfort champion. But in the game where you give over like Lilia, Syndra, Nautilus, like that is not something you can really be doing versus this team. You just need to be smart about what you're picking. I think you just need to look at the like the players who have large champion pools versus small champion pools, and just look at the like more powerful picks in particular, and just try to aim for those. I think it is tough. I think Spectres is definitely beatable. Obviously, I think Andromeda was a little caught off guard by them in the first week. Everyone said that they were probably going to be good, but I just don't think Andromeda really knew what to expect. Brewer kind of just styled on him. It was pretty disgusting. And then Metabusters, I believe, was not running the lineup that they would have liked, which I think accounts for a little bit. Obviously, not everything. Spectres did play a lot better than them, but and you know,
unwashed. It's kind of horrific, you know. It is what it is.
And MVP also did have a different roster than what they've been running before. I don't think it's necessarily worse. I think Silico and Aya have a lot of different strengths and weaknesses, but I also think it's possible that Caesarius might be able to punish Silico better, just because we were seeing a lot of bans targeted against Caesarius that probably wouldn't have needed to been there, or to have been there if Aya was playing. A lot of those tank junglers were targeted really early in draft, because I think they really mess up what Silico likes to play. And I just don't think we would have seen that if we had Aya. I think Aya would probably just pick those champions, and then they're able to play more towards heroics, kind of scaling carries, and then I think it just goes a bit differently. Just want to clarify, this is not a knock at Spectres. I just think some of these teams could have a better shot to take them down if they are playing with a particular roster. But yeah, I mean, Spectres is looking really scary. I would predict that they're almost definitely going to finish first at the end of the regular season. I don't really know who would take that from them. But no teams really look like they couldn't drop games or series throughout this season. I do have a very different team power ranking in my head than I did at the beginning of the season. Not super different. I think you just swap 2 teams and then throw some equal signs, or 2 or 3 teams and throw some equal signs instead of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But you know, I think this is definitely shaping out to be a really exciting season. I think I don't know. Anyone could end up on top in playoffs, I think.
Yeah, I think that it's still pretty open. A lot of teams are still figuring out how to play with each other and stuff like that. So we'll have to see how it goes.
Yep. I want to say Spectre's next game is the rematch against Andromeda. Is there a particular player that you would like to keep your eye on for that game?
Oh, it's Andromeda versus Spectres.
I want to say that's accurate, yeah.
I am curious to see how Jonah performs. A bit of a rough showing from this last game, but I always believe in my king. The Maokai play was really good into Aya when we last saw him. I wonder if he'll return to like these more tanky champions. And I'm just curious to see how he matches up versus Caesarius as well. So I think that's like the matchup for me. But I am also a jungle player. I think the bot lane should also be super interesting to watch. It's Alex and PB versus Sarvers and Mythic, and we know that one of these is the best top laner. I think both of them are like super strong lanes. Like Sarvers and Mythic are looking really, really dominant, and Alex and PB have been the strongest part of their team for every single game for my money. So I'm curious to see how that'll shape up as well.
Yeah, I mean, if we see something like that, Lucian Milio just taken to the face of Sarvis and Mythic, that
Yeah,
could be really crazy. I'm
that
a
would be really
little
fun to watch.
surprised we didn't end up seeing that in our games, but I do think we just held counter a lot of the time, so it's hard to really know if it's safe to pick that out, because obviously it's very like feast or famine. If the Lucian gets ahead, then I think it's a huge threat, but if the Lucian isn't really able to do much, then you just have a useless champion on your team. What I actually want to watch out for is the solo lanes. I'm kind of cheating by not just picking a role, but obviously Andromeda has shown that they can flex lanes, so I don't think just calling out a particular lane really means anything. I know Alana has said that she will like never play against Avery ever again or something, so we could just see Stanley rotating up that way, but Stanley, Greer...
Not the lane swap. Oh my god. I'm #1 lane swap denier for this fucking team, but
I
whatever,
mean, you did
man.
it too.
Do you, I guess.
Your team does it as
We
well.
did it differently! Hold on, we did it a little differently. There's a different strategy that was in mind for that lane swap, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think either way, the solo lanes are going to be really interesting to watch. I think you kind of know what you're getting with the bot lane and jungle. I feel like one side should slightly ease out in each lane respectively, but I think those solo lanes are going to be what you want to watch for.
Yeah, I guess I'm just more curious about execution. Like, I just want to see like both of them at full power going at it. You know, I think it'd be kind of fun to watch. So.
Yeah. Well, do we want to do our meta dive? Is it time for that?
Yeah, we could talk about how MetaBusters flopped if you want, but.
Well, we could do that later. That could be the next one.
Okay, sure. We can do meta dive.
Okay. I guess we will go just to team format. The signups do not matter. Kassadin is now the highest presence champion along with Maokai. This is a change from last week. Kassadin has been picked twice, is undefeated, but he's been banned 13 times. Syndra is also pretty high up there, and I think I pushed Nautilus up a bit. But do you think this like top selection of champions is like, does it make sense?
This all makes sense. Okay. It all makes sense. Kai'Sa is like the strongest ADC probably right now. It also just has a really solid like damage spread in my opinion. The win rate is kind of dog shit, but I think
1 in 6 maybe.
For like, it's just the champion's pretty good and it does a lot of damage and can kind of like be versatile. It swaps to AP pretty decently and stuff like that. So I just think it makes sense for this champion. Kassadin I think is just the fucking 20% AP ratio buff on his R that was not documented in the slightest is some fucking... Someone at Riot is like an L9 fan or something. Like, there's no reason why you don't put that kind of shit on the fucking patch notes, because that shit fucking matters so much. But whatever, man. I guess we just pretend it doesn't exist. Maokai just tends to make sense as like a jungler. I think that's where it's been used the most. The champion is just really good, can work as like a flex, works like as a engaged jungle tank, which I think is mostly what junglers need to be in scrims, because you have a lot of like stronger solo lanes and you want to play for like those kind of things, I think. But that just sort of makes sense to me as a pick. And I think Syndra just has had a lot of presence because it's like a very safe mage that does a lot of decent scaling. It just does everything that you kind of want it to do with like the long range stuns you can set up, you can play for your jungler. Gruer is like kind of gross on this champion, as we've seen, and I think Stanley just picked it up to try to like match him with that kind of style.
No, Stanley was playing it in ranked last season.
He's just been playing it. Yeah, he's just been a Syndra player, so I do like to see him pick that up as well for his team. So yeah, well, I think this top selection makes sense for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny that the champions that you can like consider good, like Kai'Sa, Rakan, Xayah, are probably like the champions that you'd point out being actually good in pro as well. That's 14% win rate, 17% win rate, 27% win rate. Just wanted to point that out. It's a little goofy, haha. And then we have Udyr Lilia. Somehow Udyr is 80% and Lilia is 29%. I'm sure you have some thoughts on that, obviously. But Asol, Syndra, Kassadin, I feel like are just... we have a really good mid laner on every team. So obviously these like powerful mid-focused, like mid-centric picks are going to be really high prio. And then rounding it out, we have Nautilus and Maokai, which are just really good initiation tanks, which, as you said, are really good for setting up for these other champs.
someone's gotta play setup, and typically just falls upon jungler support.
Yep.
So
Something a little goofy. Rel has been banned 8 times. Has no stats. Has never been played. That's 33%
that makes
presence,
sense though.
and that is just every game PB's been in, and no games that PB has not been in.
Do you want to look at the Udyr stats? Because I think there's a reason why this champion's getting banned every game or what's. Like, I don't know, man. I'm washed, guys.
It's good.
What's this for?
It's really good right now.
This champion sucks, bro.
Udyr is performing. Blitz is another like high banned, low pick champion. Rengar, I believe, has also been permabanned. This might be every game into Mike.
That's Mike. That's Mike.
Which
right
is
there.
really
Sorry,
funny.
King. I'll see you, bro.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. GP's been permabanned as well.
Yep. We have the random ass Master Yi ban.
Lots of Zoe bans versus Taxi.
Yeah,
and I think that kind of rounds it out. Blitzcrank is obviously being banned a lot against Eric. But if we sort just by wins, which I think is maybe a better metric for us, we look at Maokai, Nautilus, Udyr, Milio, and Ezreal at the top. So these are the champions that have high presence but also do well. And I think this is a very different list. You have Milio as kind of like a disengaged tool, which I think is going to just slot really well into all these like engaged tanky picks that are doing well in the meta. And then Ezreal has never been banned and is an 80% win rate, just the same as Milio and the Udyr. I think it just does really well. I think people are sleeping on it. I think it does take a bit more skill to play Ezreal than the other good champions right now. Like Xayah, Ashe, Kai'Sa are all a lot easier to execute on. But I just think when you have a player who's willing to play the Ezreal, they generally tend to perform pretty well in it, which I think is pretty interesting. I don't think there's too much to go over. These nerfs aren't like the nerfs and buffs aren't going to hit for like another week, I don't think. So
yeah, we're playing on
nothing really
like
to discuss.
So nothing really matters.
Yeah. Asian Games is actually being played on like 12.12, which is or 13.12, which is really funny. Even though that patch was like it's like 3 months ago, so I don't know how relevant that is.
Like Vi jungle like all the time and like veg.
Right. I mean, it's kind of solved, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be good for LCK and they don't have to go to military service. I feel like it's hard to root for anyone else. Like, even if you're the hugest LPL fan, like, I don't know. People being able to continue to play and we get to keep seeing them, it might be a little better IMO. But I digress. That's probably not super related. You want to talk about your team? That's what you said?
We can if you want. I don't know. Meta Buster Slav TM? That's a good title. We should do that one. We'll keep that one. I think. I don't know. Team just doesn't look like they are playing together very well. But I don't know. I'm a little washed. I think it shows in like the gameplay from the first series.
I don't know. Something I want to point out is Metabusters have been acquiring a few additional subs lately. I was looking at the rosters. Is Stav ever going to be able to play?
Yeah, he can.
Okay.
There's some rosters that work.
I don't know. And then
I know Hecarim pick against MVP. I don't know, bro. Do you want to see my win rate on this?
Wait, that is a good point. It was left up. What? All 3 games did not get picked. Ooh.
I'm washed, bro. I can't.
That hurts.
Anymore. You don't understand. I just think we wanted a game 2. I probably could have. I think. I don't know. We're just dog shit, I think.
Oh, actually, this lineup's scary. Yep, I see. I see the angle here.
Yeah, there's a couple different rosters that we can run. I just think we just have a lot to work on as a team, so we'll have to see how it goes. But
yeah, I just think it
was looking to be super solid, but I guess someone is just washed. So I don't know.
Could be true. I mean, you guys are 1-2, right? Predicted to be first is now tied for 4th. A bit unfortunate. Your 1 win was against the team below you, but I don't know. I wonder if we're gonna see the kind of like Rift Sharks approach to it that we had last season, where we're just like turbo flexing our entire roster all season. I think the conclusion was that that's a bad strategy and that we shouldn't have done it. So of course, Rift Sharks is doing that again this season because why not?
Yeah.
But I think we're trying to stick a bit closer. It's just we have a lot of players with like super conflicting schedules, so it's hard to get game scheduled. Work is kind of tragic, but we'll see.
Yeah, I just think this team was expected to be first and it's kind of fallen off a little bit. We'll have to see if they can stick the recovery a little bit because I think it is still kind of early season, so maybe they scale up. I think a lot of the teams are just look a lot stronger off the bat than people are expecting, so we'll have to see how that continues.
I think this Rift Sharks hate is completely unfounded, but I don't know.
Maybe. Okay, I was not the one who was saying.
Oh no, I wasn't saying you. I feel like I've heard this from like 5 different people. I don't know. I don't get it. I think the points, like I don't know. They point out that me and Eric are like the weak spot of the team. I don't think that's true.
That's so cap. That's like the only strong spot of your team, IMO, or the strongest spot of your team.
I would argue otherwise. I do want to give a specific shout out to Ann and Joel. I feel like both of them have improved a lot since the beginning of the season.
Ann has improved by locking in here every game.
This team is not lasting next season. I don't believe. I feel like I don't know. Just individual performance has been really good from everyone. I feel like we went from a team that kind of looked like a mess last season, to be honest, and now I just feel like we're doing a lot better. So, just wanted to give a little shout out to my team. But I don't know. We are, I believe, second in the standings right now. MVP has played every team except the New York Nutbusters. So if you trust by the current standings to them just continue how they keep going, they will end up 3-2. It's looking like it's probably going to be about a 50-50 end to them because I feel like a lot of their series were like super close. I think some of the ones that they lost in the first round they might end up winning, and some of the ones that they end up winning they might end up losing later on. But I'm probably expecting them to end up near the top, which is not what people predicted. I think some of the like submitted takes were putting MVP a lot higher. I think it's just hard to get a read. I think they have really good matchups into some teams and really poor matchups into others, just by nature of how their points are distributed. So I think that might just be something to watch as the season progresses. If I didn't forget the podcast was today for a second, I would have asked you to prep something. But if you had to just pick a player to talk about, go ahead and think about that. I will take mine. I think I don't know. I'll do 2. Or actually, you want to talk about Michael. So if you want to talk about Michael, you can go ahead and do that. You can just do a little one and talk about someone else later. But I can go ahead. I really want to talk about Puza. I think he is super fun to watch. Lots of banter in the chat, which I love to see. I think that honestly was MVP's weakest point last season. Obviously, they end up winning, so their weak point can't be in game. I mean, you could argue it could, but I don't care. I think their weak point was that they just weren't talking enough. It was kind of hard to get behind them because you just don't get to interact with that team much. But I feel like Pooz has flipped the switch on that entirely. We've definitely been seeing a bit more from their team. Obviously, you get Psycho carried on your team. There's a lot of banter going on. And I feel like I has also been bringing some as well. But Puza just talks, and it is awesome. It's like not in like annoying way. I feel like I made it seem like that, but it's clear that he really wants to improve and cares about doing really well for his team, which I've just found really exciting. We've seen him expand his champion pool a lot. I feel like going into the season, people were expecting, Yorick set, you've been those 2 champions, what's he really going to do? You can just pick into that, expecting to just play against one of those 2 champions. But he showed that that's not true at all. I am just going to pull him up real quick. I want to look at his played champions. He has actually played 6 different champions so far, and has played each of them twice. So it's not just like one-offs. We'll see how it goes. And he's actually won on all 6 of the champions. Yorick, he's won 6 times on, but basically every champion is either at a 50% win rate or 1 game off of a 50% win rate, which is really impressive. Usually you'll see people have, really hit champions, really miss champions, but I think He just understands how he needs to play his macro around his team really well, kind of regardless of what team he's on, which I think is a really good strength as a player. Being able to kind of be plug and play a bit in signups, as well as be able to be consistent with the team across the team format, I think is really good. And also, I just feel like he shows a desire to win, which obviously is helpful. And if you keep trying to improve, that will make you better than other people in the format, because point lock happens, so people who get better are going to be better at the end of the season, whereas people who kind of stay the same or get worse are not going to be as strong once you get to the end of the season. So I do just want to shout out Puza. I think he's been really fun to watch, and he's just been really fun to interact with over the course of the season. So
yeah,
shout out there.
I don't know. I just think all the teams have looked really well. I don't think there's a particular player I would highlight over anyone else on their team. Like, I don't think there's like a. I think most of the teams have been winning mostly just because of like how they've come together. I think on the opposite end of what you're talking about, I think Heroic has pulled a lot of games out of his ass recently. On his team, like his performances on these mid lane champions cannot be underestimated. Like, he is a large part of why his team is able to clutch out in some of these wins. You've seen the ASOL, the fucking Vigard pick into Alana, and just like fucking dumpstering that lane. The Cassidon pick, I don't think he's gotten it again. The Swain pick into our team, like he's just playing versus this player on red side is like actually impossible, because he will get the perfect R5 champion and just fucking roll your entire team with it, and it's kind of impossible to play around. So I think he deserves a lot of credit for his team's wins. I think another player I'd like to spotlight is, I don't know, I think you as well, and like most of the games that you have played have been a really defining factor of how your teams has been winning games. The support games looked pretty good from like the 5 seconds I saw of it on the Nautilus and the fucking Recon. The Yasuo game, I'm not gonna. If we like exile the Yasuo game to like a different part of the fucking.
He is in exile. Wow.
Yeah. Wow, this is such comedy. But I think like being able to utilize the Nyla pick when no one else is really picking this champion, the Jhin as well. I just think you brought your two together pretty well. So that's about it.
I mean, something I do want to note for myself is that out of the 5 champions I've played, only one of them has actually drawn a ban. So we are going down into the depths of the champion pool and bringing out some cursed picks. Whereas Heroic, you have the opposite problem. Cassidon, Vigar, Acel, all been banned more than 7 times. Vigar is at a 67%
every single
ban rate.
ban on the fucking earth, man. Like, it's actually impossible to play versus this player on red side, and I think you can watch every single game that MVP play. It's just actually impossible to play versus him on red side. So that's just my read so far.
Yeah, I feel like red side has just been a bit stronger overall. Just because I feel like our mid lane pool is so good. So being able to have that last pick to kind of put all the puzzle pieces together is just really strong. Mason has left me again. But I don't know. It looks like I'm podcasting with the Elon Musk over my shoulder, so we're going to call that a dub. Mason is now back.
I keep doing the thing where I close the Discord DM and just it fucks over my thing, so oh well.
Unfortunate. Is there anything else we really want to hit on? We can just try to call it a 45-minute episode. I think that would be chill with me.
I think that's fine.
Predictions. Let's rapid fire these. We have about a minute left to go. The 3 games are New York Nutbusters versus Rift Sharks, Andromeda versus Spectres, and Meta Busters versus Rift Sharks.
I'll do Rift Sharks 2-0, Andromeda, or no, Spectres 2-0, and Meta Busters 2-0. There you go.
Wow. Those are some harsh predictions. I will say 2-1 Rift Sharks versus Meta Busters. I want to say Spectres probably 2-0 over Andromeda as well. And 2-1 Rift Sharks probably over NYMB as well.
Scared. You're such a coward.
No, I am a believer. I am a believer.
You're a coward.
I'm a believer in me throwing every game 2 drafts. I don't think I figured out how to do it. No, I'm predicting game by game. Both series, we win the first game, lose the second game, win the third game. I think that's not a cowardly prediction. I think we win. I throw draft. We lose. Then we win the third game. I think that's how it was destined. All right. Any last thoughts? Okay. We got 15 seconds.
Nah, we're good. We can call it here.
Mason just wants it done. He's calling me a coward. And
I have nothing to say, bro. I literally sat here and shat on my own fucking team for 20 minutes. What do you mean?
Peace.